Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark Stanwyck, co-founder of Avalaunch, which obviously is an incredibly important part of our ecosystem. And so I'm a big fan of your work. I've been watching your streams for quite a while, as I mentioned previously, and it's an honor to have you here, man. Welcome.
Dude, thanks a lot for having me. It's an honor. It's an honor and a pleasure. Like I was sitting here just listening to the music, man, and normally I'm stressed out, jamming on work, and so it's been the intro. I think is doing the job. Like it's put me in the right mood for sure. This is cool.
I'm so glad to hear that, man. That's the intention. And chat, I hope you guys are feeling it too. Just to recap in the chat right now, if you're looking for that validator and delegator Dexalot subnet info, it's in there. Just hit the chat, scroll up a little bit. We got you covered, babe. But back to our guest. Like I said, Avalaunch, pretty much an integral part of our ecosystem. If you wouldn't mind talking about where you come from and kind of how you got to the point that you're at now. We kind of do an intro for every guest. We like to know the people behind the projects, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure, no problem. So obviously, as you just stated, Mark Stanwyck, one of the co-founders of Avalaunch. Avalaunch, for anyone that isn't aware, is at its core a launch pad. People have I think, an understanding of what that is. Although we like to think that we kind of come at it from a different angle, and that's not to undermine or devalue any other launch pad. It's just very, very important to us that because we are native to the Avalanche ecosystem and focus only here, and have kind of literally been here since day one, and we're really excited about it from the beginning. It's very, very important to us that we kind of treat the ecosystem and the community and the teams that we work with and launch and then go on to really work with forever with a lot of respect and a positive collaboration. And that takes a lot of work. And I'm not sure it's the way a lot of launch pads operate. So we're proud of that. We're really about the relationships that come from this, and making those relationships connect with the future relationships that we'll have through the work of the platform. But for me, my background's in crypto at this point. It's like I can comfortably say that.
Nice.
Depending how you slice it, I've been in crypto for probably about 10 years. Bitcoin 2011. Grew up really, really into computers and technology. I was born in 1984, and was messing around with programming and Apple PCs and MS DOS and all that stuff. Just as a kid, I just liked it, and it always formed a sort of backdrop, I think, for the way I saw the world. And it was before the computers and the internet took over the world. So
right.
it was kind of allowed me, I think, a unique straddling of two eras. One of just sort of like, hey, I'm an 80s kid, and I don't know what a computer is, into, hey, this is sort of all we do and the only way we communicate. And I think it's great. I'm grateful for that, because I think it's allowed me to be effective in the new world, but also maybe have some balance that I don't think I would have kind of had otherwise. So after discovering Bitcoin, followed it, was a part of it as like a hobbyist, an enthusiast for a lot of years. It was a really interesting technology and space to watch. It was fascinating. But the idea of, like working in crypto and being in crypto and doing anything else besides like having it and watching price was just not kind of on my radar.
Sure.
And that changed as soon as Ethereum came along and smart contracts and this kind of thing. It was at that point where the whole crypto world started to look really, really different and accessible to people with ideas and that just weren't possible before the technology, right?
Right.
And it started to look more like kind of a startup type vibe where, hey, me and you have this idea, man, and we're going to build it. We're going to go after it. Like before that wasn't happening. And so what that did it was happening, but to a much smaller degree. And these were like Bitcoin businesses and exchanges, and just a different vibe altogether.
Sure.
Right. So it was at that point where 2016 or so, just kind of went all in. The path through became more clear to me. It's funny because I actually just like wrote something yesterday. I'm trying to write more. And I put it out yesterday about like how you can kind of get started in crypto with no
I actually wanted to talk about that. Yeah, that was great.
Oh,
I saw that.
Cool. And so there's this maybe misconception that you need to be this like giga brain, uber genius to make an impact in crypto. And from where I sit and from what I see, and I can sort of verifiably true, like nothing could be less accurate. Sure, there's like the builders and the programmers, and that's a group of people, and not everyone's brain works like that.
Exactly.
But it's such a small segment of what makes crypto tick, what makes crypto run.
Yes.
And a lot of these other things are community and people and things like this, and entertainment, and it's a human thing. And so you can find ways to get involved and make a big impact. And if you want to talk about that thing later, we certainly can. And so I was able to work with a lot of projects over the years, just by being hungry for it, man. It's what I really enjoyed and what turned me on, and like just was, who knew what would come of it, but you gotta put your brain somewhere, right?
Yes.
And it was early enough where there was a lot of opportunity, and kind of no one knew what was really going on. Everything was just sort of flying around, seeing what stuck, and that's sort of still true today, in many ways. And was lucky enough to find my way into some great teams, collaborations with really good people, working on my own stuff, just always trying to move forward and keep up and keep adding value, because I've found it gratifying. It was what made me happy. And so I guess I was lucky in that regard, because I found work that made me happy. And within those couple of years, like just naturally through the course of things, generated a fair amount of network and experience, and and practical real world know-how in working with projects and teams, kind of at all stages, but particularly around launch and early, like the earliest genesis of these things, like even from just like, this is an idea that exists as a sentence on a piece of paper, and was able to work through taking those ideas to market, I guess. And in inside of those 2 points, there's a tremendous amount of things that need to happen, and depending on what the project is and what their values are and what they want to achieve, that can look a lot of different ways. But generalizing, there's like fundraising that needs to happen, there's community building that needs to happen, and then there's a lot of architecting and design when it comes to the project and the token and the distribution itself. Like, this thing's got to work, and that's you got to design it to work. And so there's just kind of an endless amount of need in projects, from technology to communications to community to strategy. It just does not stop. Right.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the point. And so we did that just for ourselves and for our collaborators and teams and friends for a lot of years. And we, as someone that was like, involved, you pay attention to what's going on, like new things are coming out, new L1s, new technology, whatever, you're just watching. And Avalaunch was something that caught our attention early. And we had seen a lot and been disappointed by a lot, and probably grew, in the process, grew wiser. And Avalaunch passed the sniff test. It was like something that looked, like it was a real technology backed by real people who were thinking about it in a way that was going to allow them to be competitive, and onboard developers and onboard retail. And like, again, these are like Sisyphean tasks. Like, they're just the fact that they happen is, you can't even imagine the amount of almost luck and work and timing and
pushing the rock, man. Got to push the rock
and pushing that fucking rock. And even then, there's no guarantees. And so we kind of fell in love with it really, really early. And as people that were used to building businesses in crypto and being involved, we were like, this is such a tremendous opportunity to be early to something that we think we're going to really, really believe in, and is going to come to mean a lot to us. So we designed Avalaunch really to achieve two things. One was kind of like an excuse to be involved, right? If you're a launch pad, people have a reason to talk to you, and then I get to talk to you, and that's what I like to do. But two, it was all early enough, and I felt like we were experienced enough that there was a small possibility that we could help generate some visibility and awareness and do some good for the ecosystem that could potentially have some kind of more long-lasting impact.
Definitely.
And I do believe we maybe achieved some of that. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's safe to say you have. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll take it. That's
from our perspective. I mean, hey, maybe our viewers and our listeners don't know this, but Dexalot's a lot token was our IDO was through Avalaunch.
That's right.
And that was, I remember those days because I was just toiling away at the keyboard. I felt like forever. You know what I mean? We were doing so many posts and so many updates and so many schedules. And so, your impact is huge, man. I mean, like I was saying, from our perspective, from my perspective personally, and like I said, I'm still kind of green in this world, in this crypto world, but I'm learning. And you guys are an integral part of this ecosystem from what I've seen from the time I've been here. And just to kind of piggyback off of something that you said while you were, explaining where you come from. I'm living proof of what you posted about, getting into crypto. You don't have to be a galaxy brain. I am by no means a galaxy brain. I'm pretty good at moving records around. You know what I mean? But and I'm decent at writing tweets. But really, you just have to have a willingness to learn is what I found more than anything. And
here you are.
Yeah, and here I am. So guys, if you're watching this and you are trying to get into crypto and you want to make it your job because it's fun and rewarding, because it is, dude, just follow Mark first of all. Follow Mark on Twitter. He's posting some gems, and that's a really cool story, man. It sounds like I really love hearing about how people got from point A to point B. Yeah. And so it's like, obviously it's been kind of a weird year, right? And so I guess in a general sense, like given the market, state of the market, given the big bear, I like to think he's gone from, I don't know if you play video games, but in Elden Ring,
I do.
There's rune bears, right? And there's small rune bears and there's large rune bears. And I feel like we had a small rune bear. Small rune bears are pretty easy to deal with when you're playing the game, but the large rune bears, those are a problem. Yeah, and I feel like they developed from like a small rune bear to a large rune bear. So I guess what would you say? Is Avalaunch making any changes as a result? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. And launch pads, fundraising, token sales. There's no way around it. These things are heavily influenced by where we are in the market cycle, simply because it relies so heavily on an influx of capital and the appetite of private investors and retail and community to participate in these things. Sure. And so when the market falls apart, and people are jumping off buildings, that cools off some, right? Right. And so whether we like it or not, it affects what we do. Sure. But it is also, I think, an opportunity, and it's not to sound like too kind of cliche, I hope, but it's true. And you sort of have to look at it like this, because a lesser launchpad, I suppose, who is going to just rely on the froth in a market to
Right.
get sales out and get those sales filled, and just say, hey, listen, everyone's buying anything right now,
You're
so
right.
I can get a slice of that, right? You know, no value judgment here, but that would not be terribly hard to do for a time. But the really hot period of the market, these bull periods, they're punctuated. They don't last long, regardless of how it feels. And
Right.
there are these huge periods of time in between what we just experienced and the next time we're going to see something that looks like it. So what then, right? And
Right.
so I think our opportunity is Avalaunch, and and not just Avalaunch, but kind of any project that is yet to launch or is currently out there, is to the opportunity at least is to demonstrate your value in the absence of just insanity, right? Like
Right.
it's like a nitro booster, and it's
Yep.
it's easy to rely on, and you could be forgiven for relying on it because, like, you know, you take the easier path, you know, you're human. But there is now a chance for projects like us, and and everyone else, to say, okay, the market isn't insane. There isn't just money fucking raining from the sky, and
Right.
we're still of value. And depending on who you are, that's going to kind of look differently. So for Avalaunch, I think we're sort of even more uniquely positioned to kind of get hit by this, right? Because our product,
Yep.
in many ways, are these sales and like
Right.
the early opportunity, right?
Right.
And that's what people kind of expect from us, and that's the expectation that we set. So the challenge for us now is to, well, kind of twofold, I suppose. Demonstrate that we are relevant and important, without doing a hot IDO week
Right.
over week over week over week. And
Totally.
we've done this before, right?
Right.
We launched our token, and we didn't do a sale for, like, I don't know, 7, 8 months, right? We weren't doing the thing we were supposed to do.
Right.
That was primarily not because we didn't want to, but it was just because we were so early, and
Sure.
the ecosystem wasn't mature enough, at least in our estimation, to start doing the work in the form of sales that we wanted to do. So we were presented with the same challenge. How do you become relevant as a launch pad without doing launches? And at that time, again, the ecosystem was early. The people that were here because, not because it was the white hot
Yeah.
L1 rotation, but
Right.
because they liked it.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of opportunity for us with our prior experience, which I just sort of feel like we have a fair amount of, to collaborate and work with other projects and other builders, and just kind of galvanize and mobilize and spread the good word.
Yeah.
And that kept us really quite busy for a long time, and allowed us to grow as a launch pad without doing launches. And
Sure.
so the ecosystem cracks, it hits, it strikes, the bridge goes up overnight, basically. Avalanche is, the hottest thing since whatever, sliced bread. And we're in a good position because we spent a lot of time generating an understanding of the community in an authentic way, because we liked it.
Yes.
We were a part of it because we
Yes.
wanted to be, and not put us in a good position to help other teams who are interested in the same thing, right? Because we had done it ourselves.
Yeah.
So that trust was really important. So we've been through this before in some ways. I
Sure.
would say the notable difference is, at that point, we had never done a sale, so people didn't sort of have any expectation of sales.
Sure.
Now we're at a point where the sales are slowing down, and they're used to doing sales. So it does look different in that way. But
Yeah, and that kind of brings up, like, totally. And I mean, Is this time, does this feel different than last time though? Like, are you still seeing builders, or does it feel more dead, or like, how's the flow of projects going?
No, despite sort of maybe like the natural assumption, it's changed, but it's still cracking. It's still going on.
That's great. That's what's up.
We're still meeting and working with amazing teams and amazing builders.
Air horn for it's
Air
still
horn.
popping, man. We had to do it.
Air horns are still popping. I love that. And the good news here, I guess the even better news here is that these times in the market sort of self select for, generally speaking, stronger teams that have
The
a more
authenticity that you
long-term
were talking about.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a team right now that, everyone's, it's prudent to pay attention to the market. I'm not saying it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
no, totally.
But if you have a team that is, you could have two types of teams. You could have a team A that says, okay, well, the bear market's done. We're just going to table this until it comes back, whenever that is, because we need that juice.
Right.
Or team B that says, listen, like what we're doing here and the momentum of it is just so independent of anything else that we're, this is bad and this is a challenge and we have some things to think about, but it's not stop. Why would it? It's not. You can't stop us, right? The momentum of the value is so much greater. So it's good because those teams start to represent more and more of the teams that are around building, interested in launching. And so I think it comes to represent, again, very generally speaking, a higher quality. And this is, it's kind of the old cliche. It's like, things are built in the bear. And this is exactly why. The FOMO goes away. Even the most experienced people are still vulnerable to the psychology of that stuff. And it can lead you to make decisions and execute strategies that you wouldn't have otherwise, even against your best judgment. So you clear that out. You have time to really think and be and build thoughtfully. And I think that's why better products can come out of this period, is because the noise is stripped away, and that noise is loud.
Yes. Absolutely, man. Agreed. And it's kind of like, so like, all that being said, have you changed how you try to like galvanize user participation during this like market stretch, or like are you doing anything different? Because I know that like it's, getting users to participate when things aren't the greatest isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world,
Yeah.
So I guess, has that changed for you guys at all, or are you approaching that differently too?
Yeah, we are. And that's done through a couple of different means, right? One is at the level of the platform. So we have some features and things coming out that aren't like a direct response to bad market conditions, but I think will ease some of this. Secondarily, and probably more importantly, these things change really drastically at the level of the project and at the level of the deal, right? Because what a lot of people don't realize, and it makes sense that they don't realize this, is that when a sale ends up on a launch pad and there's that public sale price, this is the end result of months and months and months of design, negotiation between VCs, advice from advisors, trends in the market, blah 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 blah. And so that price that we're able to get for the Avalaunch participants is not an accident. And we work very, very hard to bring our community closer to the earlier rounds and the earlier investments, which was not happening before we started. And it was one of the main reasons we wanted to build Avalaunch is because it was totally lopsided. It actually was really it was not beneficial for the project. I would even go as far to say it was sort of dangerous and detrimental, and that proved itself over time.
Yeah.
But before Avalaunch, you would see sales where a seed round was at a penny, and these investors, right, were investing a month before the launch, right? And then you had a retail guy who's paying 50 cents, a month later. And so this is just, not only is that all wrong, right? But even if you didn't care about it sort of just being like unfair,
right.
It's not good for the project. It's not good for the sustainability. And it's overreaching on the side of the private capital at the expense of basically everything else.
Right.
And to be clear, I have zero problem with private investors, VCs. There's plenty of good ones. There's more bad ones.
Of course.
There's plenty of good ones, and they serve a very, very, very important function. But where you can go wrong is a misjudgment of the balance between private capital, the sort of the team's distribution, and how these things enter the market over time through distribution investing, and then the value of the community, who are the users, who are the people that, starting at launch into forever, not the private capital, are going to be your users, your Shirlers, your fanboys, the people who are the community. So it only makes sense to get these are the people you want exposed to your success. Because they're the ones that are going to be helping along the way.
Absolutely.
So it just makes sense on every level, and the only reason it wasn't happening like that, I think, is primarily just kind of greed. But doing what I'm talking about now, it is harder. It requires a lot more work, and a lot more BS and negotiation and upsetting private investors. I mean, generally speaking, we have a very, very good relationship with VCs because they know that we work really hard for their portfolio projects and we take good care of them, right?
Completely.
So it's a balance, kind of like anything else.
Yeah, totally.
But to answer your question more directly, I tend to sort of go on.
You're good, man. You're good.
What you will be seeing from Avalaunch in the near future is obviously not an IDO every week, simply because the market can't support it. That's not a good idea.
It's not there.
You'll see less frequent IDOs, but you will see IDOs. And these IDOs will be much, because now we have the time, which we didn't have before, right?
Right.
Will be, sort of every detail. They will be much more curated. They will be much more balanced. We have the time and the need to make sure that everything about this sale, from top to bottom, is absolutely optimized for team and community success in their involvement, whatever they kind of choose to do. So I'm not saying we know how to defy gravity and make things go 1,000x while Bitcoin's going to zero. But
you don't?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I hate to break it to you, man, but if I did, I would not be sitting here. As much as I'm enjoying this. But the point is, and this goes back to sort of how Avalaunch might be a little different.
Sure.
Is there's a need for some projects to launch and get the product out and evolve it in real time with the token trading now.
Absolutely.
Not every project can afford to just say, okay, well, we're going to sit on our hands for the next bull market, right? And so now, as Avalaunch, part of our value here to the ecosystem and to these projects is figuring out and engineering a structure that the community can still participate in, that will insulate and protect these teams. So maybe it doesn't go 1,000x, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't go 50% below IDO day 3.
Right.
And so again, we can't change the laws of physics, but what we can do is protect these teams, protect the investors, and allow them to go out and prove that this token has value. And so if this token is out there in the market trading and you've participated in the IDO and you have effectively purchased it at the lowest price that it ever was, and a couple of months go by and this team is delivering and shipping and it's amazing product, and the only reason it's not going up is because the retail appetite isn't there. Well, guess what happens when the retail appetite returns? These are the exact kind of assets that someone's going to look at. Now it has an established market history. It has an established track record of execution and a resiliency. And then these are the things that people look at and say, "Holy shit, this is undervalued." Right.
LFG.
So it has to be a different approach, because again, we can't manufacture insanity in a bear market, right?
Right.
But what we can do is help these teams deliver on their launch and their product, and insulate and protect them so they're well prepared and can kind of move on with their lives, because the launch period is not the thing. The project is the thing.
Yes, definitely, man. That's like, yeah. And the way that you guys do all the launches is always awesome to me, because one thing, and kind of shifting gears from what we're talking about right now to more of kind of, I guess, the marketing side, but all the videos that come out for your projects are just incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, dude. I remember the one for Dexalot with the axolotl swimming.
Yeah.
Are those made in-house or like?
Yeah. So believe it or not, me and another guy, we sit down and we take 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how much time we have, and we make them, and we,
So that's you.
It's me, we have another talented guy that we work with who is, he's in-house, but I basically write the concept and the script and then with his help, obviously improve it. But yeah, man, even till this day, I still do those because I think amazing, it's important.
Dude. They're amazing. Every time I see a new one, I'm like, man. And the thing I love about them is that it's something that people can really grab onto, like we were talking about with doing something different, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel, and that's what I love about Avalaunch too, is that we kind of strive for the same thing over at Dexalot, is that like, we're very serious about what we do, but we have a lighthearted approach to it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, it looks like Pulsar's in the house. You're getting some love over here, Mark.
Pulsar boys, love those guys. Incredible project. Incredible
and that
project.
Kind of brings me to that, dude. Web3 gaming right now. I mean, I know you guys have been very, very big in the Web3 gaming space lately. I'm a big gamer myself. I'm very excited that we're entering into this brave new world. I like to call myself a Web2 gamer in a Web3 world, And
I like that. That's cute.
Yeah, it is cute, right? And
Very
so,
cute.
What's up, Prompt? Good to see you, man. So, I guess what are like, there's a lot of projects coming out in the GameFi space. I guess what are a couple that you're most excited about, if you can, just off the top of your head?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there's a lot. So Battle for Geostone, like it's like sort of picking your favorite child. I'll talk about Battle for Geostone because it's the one that's coming up the soonest.
Okay.
And that's going to be at some time, next month. We've been putting out a lot of content about Battle for Geostone recently, and we will probably do it relentlessly until the time of this IDO. Not because we want to absolutely drown people in information, but it represents such a meaningful departure, I think, into the direction toward where GameFi needs to go.
Sure.
And it's a MOBA, and Avalaunch does not have a MOBA yet. and it is built and designed by people that come from the Dota 2 world. These are guys that are, international champions. They live, breathe, and respect this stuff, most importantly.
Amazing.
And they, they want to build a game experience that they would want to play. They're not going to put something out there because, they have a whole network of friends and colleagues and, streamers and players, that they're not going to put something out that is going to, embarrass them. So
You can't.
if ego, if ego alone, I think is going to make this project successful. But in addition to that, and again, we're going to be putting out, some really detailed content about these things too. There's some pretty novel things that we're doing around the game economy, and how we move value around, and solving some of the unsustainability stuff that's sort of part and parcel, unfortunately, at this point with GameFi, although that's changing very, very quickly. And they also have the actual skills, network, and infrastructure to run tournaments, esports tournaments. They're going to launch with $1 million esport tournament for this game.
That's tight.
And so, so you could have a game that's like, hey, we're a MOBA, and we're going to do esports, and we're going to do tournaments, and like, just sort of sitting somewhere on paper, right? It's a long road to that. But Mile, one of the co-founders, he's been putting on the Dota tournaments in like Eastern Europe and stuff for like 8 years, right?
Oh,
this is what he does.
Yeah, this is like his thing.
Yeah, and then you have Theban, the other co-founder, who's like working on a lot of the mechanics and the balancing, who has not only been like literally like #1 internationally in Dota for years and years and years.
Sure.
But then also came and fell in love with Web3, became, top player in Axie for like a bunch of seasons, and then ended up helping Axie with their game balancing, right? And the balancing proposals that he put out there, according to Sky Mavis, like in their own words, was sort of represented the best version of the game that they've had. And it still is running and all this stuff. And so these are the kind of guys you look at and you're like, the likelihood of these guys building an entertaining, compelling, playable esport experience, which is a huge undertaking, is actually reasonably high.
Let's go.
And in terms of the sale, and what this will look like on Avalaunch, this will be, I think, the first time where we're able to show the community what I've been kind of vaguely talking about throughout this stream, about how we kind of engineer these things to be insulated. There isn't a token or variable in this that we haven't thought about, are proud of, and represented. So, we have the time to do that now. And I'm really, really excited about BFG. But it would be unfair of me to sort of call out some of these other great games that we're working with, because it kind of speaks to this other important thing that's happening in GameFi, which is, GameFi blew up, for better or for worse. It started off on a weird foot, set some weird expectations, but at the same time, it got the attention and drew in a large amount of players, real game players, builders, developers, creators, who are like glimpsed the potential of what the blockchain component of this can do. And we're like, well, this is obviously wrong. Now I kind of feel this duty to do this better, right? And this is due diligence. This is what you're starting to see now. And so, BFG, Pulsar is, is another great example of this kind of team.
Shout out to Pulsar.
Absolutely. Go to our Twitter, and, we've written some things about them. And we mean it. Ascenders, another a tremendous game.
Definitely.
Smashverse, Arcade Galaxy. Yeah, that's something that's probably kind of coming a little later. Fableborn, DeFi Mons, Shrapnel.
All
All
the
of these
hits.
games. I mean, geez, the like the talent and the brain power behind these is
Elderoon. There's another.
Elderoon, right? Another great game. It's really encouraging, and
Definitely.
there was a moment there where I'm like, GameFi looks like it could fall apart and in a hurry. And these are the kind of people and teams that have come in to save it, and I mean it.
Yes.
And
definitely.
so we're super excited to be able to support them and help them. And the other thing that I kind of want to address here is like, if you looked at this conversation or listened to this conversation and looked at Avalaunch, you could be forgiven for feeling like we're a GameFi launchpad. Well, we're not.
Right.
There are other kinds of things we're working on. We have some cool DeFi stuff in the works.
Yep.
Some very cool NFT stuff in the works. It's just that we don't control what people are building and when, right?
Right.
The market dictates that, and other forces that we don't understand dictate that.
Right.
So from there, what we can do is observe and distill like where the potential in the market is,
Sure.
and then find these kinds of teams that we actually want to represent. That's the best we can do. So I think there are some people in our community that are like, God, guys, enough games already, right? And I can't really blame them, but like I'm like, this is where, at least as far as what we're seeing, right? We don't see everything, but this is what we're seeing where the talent and the potential and the thinking is. That being said, we do have some other really cool, innovative DeFi, music, NFT stuff coming up, which will kind of be a nice change of pace. But
we should throw a DJ party for it if we're doing music.
Yeah. We'll do it. There's one in particular. I think we'll do a special.
Let's do it.
A special event.
I love that.
And so not to fear. I think that segment's probably pretty small because not everyone's a gamer. Not everyone's turned on by games, and I get that too. But
lost souls. Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we're running a little short on time here, man. But can I ask you, would you be down to come back and talk to us in the CLOB again? I mean, this was.
Of course, I would come back whenever, man. This was great. This is like relaxing for me.
I knew this was going to be fun because as soon as I saw we have the same microphone, I was like, see, great minds. We're gonna be right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you're easy to please.
It's true, man. It's true. I'm like. You just give me something shiny, jingle some keys in front of me, I'm good to go. You know what I mean? So before you go though, I am going to jump back on the turntables for a few minutes. Okay. Chat, if you got any requests, hit me in the chat. I know we talked about a music request. If you're feeling something, maybe I can end with it. You were saying you were feeling something a little somber.
I'm down for that. So here's the caveat: is I'm a big music guy, and sort of like. The weirder, the better for me. I don't know why. I'm just kind of like that.
I love that.
But I also don't want to bring the vibe down.
You don't want to frighten our audience?
Well, I'm like, I don't want them to be like, what? I'm worried about Mark. I think I'll kind of go like middle ground. All right. I'll give you a choice.
Okay.
I'll give you a choice of genre.
I love choices. Yeah. What do you got?
So you want folk? Do you want very, very, very old blues? Do you want 80s post rock?
Bingo.
Okay, so then it would be Hey by the Pixies.
Oh my God, bro. Yes, let's go. Production, can you hit me with that in Slack?
I think that'll hit hard in the right way.
I'm feeling that vibe, sir. Salute. All right. Mark, co-founder of Avalaunch. Forgive me for my mispronunciations. And And dude, this was awesome having you here. Thank you so much for coming.
It's a
Two
pleasure,
hosts,
man. Thanks for
two
inviting
hosts,
me, dude.
You know what I mean? When two hosts vibe out, it's just can
Two
be
hosts collide. Yeah,
yes,
it's
dude.
magic.
I love it. I love
No,
it.
man, listen, it's like really thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here, man. Like it's always nice when people want to fucking hear us come talk. Like that means the world to us. So thank you for having us.
It's an honor to have you, man. So we will catch you next time, and yeah, we'll everybody make sure you're checking in on Avalaunch. Thanks again, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
All right,
I'll talk to you later.